When my dad first suggested to me, why don't you pick a country and go for a solo trip? This really excited me. A couple weeks later, I was bound for Japan. Until the day of the flight, all I felt was the excitement, and I never really thought about the fact that it's going to be my first solo trip. Oh, I had no idea what to expect. But these 2 weeks alone in Japan taught me so much and gave me an experience that I will cherish for the rest of my life. A quote my friend Andrea told me was, "The world is a book. Those who do not travel read only one page." I'm Karthik, and this is my story in Japan. So, my 18-hour journey to Tokyo Haneda began. Hey, there's the look of a person who doesn't look nervous. This was my first long-haul journey alone, and all I was trying to do was get as much sleep as possible, thinking this would counteract the jet lag. I still managed to watch 2 movies. But soon enough, touchdown! It was in Tokyo, and local time was just past midday. I felt a rush of excitement, but also a weird sense of nervousness and freedom. I was headed to Asakusa for my first capsule hotel. And after a quick freshen up, I went out to explore Tokyo. Alright, so on the first day, I explored near Asakusa where I saw my first temple. And I also saw my first market. For the night, I went to Akihabara, the Electric City, and boy was it overstimulating. There was so much going on in every direction, and 8 to 9 floor buildings surrounding me. On my second day, I started off with Harajuku. Okay, so this is Miku. Hi Miku.
Hi.
This is the cap you have here.
Thank you so much.
I then walked to the Meiji Jingu Shinto Shrine in some beautiful weather, and I was experimenting with the camera and beginning to get a hang of things. I finished the day with the electrifying energy that Shinjuku and Shibuya carry. Oh, the iconic Shibuya crossing has to be experienced in person. And here's me getting lost in the crowds. On the third day, I started off with the Tokyo Tower, and I saw my first set of plum blossoms. There were not many, but they were still beautiful. And in the afternoon, I saw entire buildings dedicated to designer brands in Ginza, where I dabbled in some more shopping at Uniqlo's biggest store. I then had my first Japanese meal, which was delicious. And for the evening, I had to hit a Don Quijote store. Gotta tell you, I was lost in there for an hour, but I grabbed some snacks. I then finished the night with Shibuya once again and headed back to my accommodation. There was a social event at my accommodation where I met tourists from all over the world, and a few of us went out for the night to some Japanese bars. And with that night, my time in Tokyo came to an end. Oh, Hakone, what a surreal place. I was beginning to get comfortable with the weather, the environment, the jet lag, and everything else really, just settling in, but also opening myself up more and trying out new things. I did the Hakone round course, and here are some of my highlights. I was fortunate enough to get some fantastic views of Mount Fuji, and the scale can really not be captured on camera. And even in such a place, situated near a mountainous area, there were convenience stores and vending machines everywhere. For the night, I stayed in a traditional ryokan and enjoyed some late-night Japanese television. I got up super early in the morning, at around 4, and I visited the nearby temple and shrine in the calm and quiet. But the weather up there was freezing cold. And in those early hours, my thoughts were my company. So, I got on my first bullet train from Odawara to Kyoto, and to give you context on how fast they go, Well, as one of them passes by, the whole platform shakes. And I actually booked the Mount Fuji window seat in the green car, and I got about 5 minutes of views before we went right past it. These things fly. But after arriving at Kyoto, I noticed that there were a lot more buses than trains, and this was a bit of a surprise coming from Tokyo. For the remainder of the evening, I walked around and explored the north of Kyoto. I absolutely loved the vibe I was getting from those first couple of hours, the way it felt both like a city and also a bit like a village or a countryside. Then for the night, I checked out this observation deck and I headed to my accommodation. From my 4 days in Kyoto, it took the crown and became my favorite place in Japan. While most of my visits were temples and gardens, it was the time in between that I enjoyed walking around and getting to know the city. I realized from this that it's a lot bigger than I thought.
花よきれいとおだてられ咲いてみせればすぐ散らされるバカなバカなバカな女の恨み節定め悲しと諦めて泣きを見せればまた泣かされる女女女涙の恨み節
So, as you can see, lots of beautiful temples and tourists. It was my longest stay in a city, so I got quite used to navigating it. But I averaged 13 kilometers of walking per day.
憎い悔しい許せない消すに消えない忘れられない尽きぬ尽きぬ尽きぬ女の恨み節夢よ未練と笑われて冷めてみせますまだ冷めきれぬ女女女心の恨み節
Another thing is that crossroads are literally everywhere, and the streets don't end. They just keep going as far as the eyes can see. But oh man, the cars! If you've seen Cars 2 the movie, you'll know they got the Japanese cars spot on. They're just so unique. And yes, how can I forget? I tried Sakura flavored fluffy pancakes, and it was art on a plate.
真っ赤なバラにゃトゲがある刺したかないが刺さずにゃおかぬ燃える燃える燃える女の恨み節死んで花見が咲くじゃなし恨み一筋生きてゆく女女女命の恨み節
The iconic Fushimi Inari. I knew there were lots of shrines here, and as I was walking, it honestly felt like there was no shortage of them. They just kept coming one after another. All 1,000 shrines. But what I didn't expect was the number of steps to climb. It almost felt like a hike where each shrine was cheering me on. Okay, so as you can see, Nara is packed with deer. And after seeing the park, I went to this homely and inviting restaurant which was all run by just one lady. And this was honestly super inspiring. I also tried the famous mochi, but I may have gone for too many. But with this experience, the Nara chapter comes to a close. Oh yeah, the Glico Running Man. This is in Dotonbori, and the energy on this street was just incredible. The performances, the music, the lights, it felt like Tokyo all over again. And it's got quite the nightlife scene. Oh yeah, I found out this was just a 10-minute walk away from my accommodation. Then, on the second day, I saw the Osaka Castle, which was magnificent. It takes you through 7 floors of history before the final observation deck on the 8th floor that offers stunning views of the city. After spending around 2 hours walking around the Atomic Bomb Dome and the Peace Park, I went to the museum. The museum took me through a deeply emotional journey where I got to see some things close up that I've never seen or known about before. It was a museum that didn't just feel like information, rather a visceral experience that made me feel the impact in a way that I've never felt. 4 hours later, I was outside and I just felt like sitting in silence. As the evening approached, I walked around the city and was amazed at how developed and massive it was. It didn't feel different to any of the other big cities that I had been to. It went from being reduced to rubble to now being completely unrecognizable that such a thing even happened. As the evening closed, I wrote down some thoughts on my notebook and just felt an immense sense of gratitude for being able to see this. Koyasan is a sacred temple village with over 100 temples where Shingon Buddhism is worshipped. So far in my visit, there wasn't anywhere else that felt as peaceful as my morning walk through the massive forest cemetery. I was completely blanketed by the forest greenery, the stone pillars, lanterns, and the rays of sunlight seeping through. What's more is I got to see a very special religious chanting ceremony for 30 minutes. It was breathtaking watching the concentration of the young men with barely any clothes dipped in the freezing cold water. And their chanting was so incredibly powerful. There were lots of photographers and interviewers too, so I assumed it was a very important occasion for them. But this ceremony is what I think about now when I hear Koyasan, and here are some videos. Staying in Koyasan took me to a different world altogether. A spiritual world located somewhere far out on a mountaintop. And as I was going back to Osaka, I reflected on this beautiful 2-week journey. Over these 2 weeks, exploring historical temples, castles, remote villages, and incredibly developed cities, I have experienced the Japanese culture. And this journey has been nothing short of incredible. meeting people, sharing stories, and learning the Japanese ways. It's one of the most beautiful countries I've been to, and traveling alone has taught me that solitude offers clarity and purpose while acting as a great reset button. Japan has been an adventurous chapter in my life, and I look forward to writing the next one.
Someone told me that it's you against the world, homie. To control things, don't let things control me. And that habit's not above it, hell is not below me. It's out here, homie, yeah, in front of your eyes. How you live it, how you move, and these the things that decide if there's demons in your